You go on with our president, Mr. Litov. The floor is yours and the coordination is yours.
Thank you very much. So actually now we are starting our normal work, but before this, as many of you know, unfortunately, this year we have lost Tea Guazar. Tea was representative, was in the project from the very beginning. She was representing Slovenia. In our project, he did a fantastic work during the period of establishing the project, start of the project. She was also a member of the board of the association and deputy chair of this board, and was chairing for several months the board just before election of the new chair of board association. So I would like to ask you for a minute of silence to remember our dear Tea. She did a lot for us, and the memory for her will stay with us forever. Please, a minute of silence. Thank you very much. So now let me start. So at the beginning of today's meeting, I am going to make a brief presentation of the project and to introduce, especially for our guests here, and as well for the new members of the working groups and of the steering committee. As you know, SEEIST stands for the Southeast European International Institute for Sustainable Technologies. The basic, let me see whether, moves. So the basic idea to establish this institute was proposed by Herbig Schopper, the former Director General of CERN. Unfortunately, he was not able to join us for today, but he is very active still in the project. The objectives of the project are to promote collaboration between science, technology, and industry, to provide platforms for the development of the education, to boost the technology transfer from European laboratories like CERN and other leading institutes to the countries in the region, to mitigate, of course, the tensions between countries in the region, and because we are going to establish a research center, of course, to form a research nucleus in the region of Southeast Europe. This kind of goals can be achieved with one major new institute based on the latest technologies to enable first-class research. Actually, we can see here the member states. Now we have 10 countries joining the project and working together for the realization of this idea. The project is based on two official documents. The first one was Declaration for Intent, which was signed in 2017 at CERN. 8 countries at this moment signed the declaration. Croatia decided to sign it at referendum, and Greece declared that is very interested in the project and joined the project as an observer. As you know, last year Greece signed the declaration of intent officially and officially became member of the project, and this is why we are here in Thessaloniki today. The second document is the so-called Memorandum of Cooperation, which was signed by 6th Prime Minister in 2019. I should inform you also that the Greek Prime Minister is going to sign this document. It's a question of time and organization in the proper way of this signature. So at the very beginning, we were considering two options for establishment of the institute. In both cases, the basic idea was to build a big accelerator. In the first case, the idea was to have a synchrotron white source, and the second option was to establish an accelerator which accelerates protons and white ions, which are used for treatment of cancer. There are a lot of arguments behind the decision of the steering committee to proceed with the second options. I will mention just one because it's a very understandable argument. You see the map of Europe, and as you can see on the map, where is the, no, sorry, I pushed the wrong, okay. Anyhow, on the map you can see that in our region practically there is no, what is shown here are the proton or ion therapy centers in Europe. As you can see, practically in our region there is completely empty, there is no single center, which means simply that the population of our region has no normal access to this option of treatment of cancer patients. And as you understand, this is not this is a question of life and death. So we have tried to estimate the expected number of patients in the region. There are a lot of parameters as input, but just to mention some of them. So the population of the 10 countries participating in the project is 43 million. Taking into account different type of cancer eligible for this type of treatment, the distribution of these cancers among the population in the region. Our estimation is that we expect to have at least 1,400 patients per year, and in case if we add the European part of Turkey, the population is 75 million, and then we do expect to have more than 2,500 patients per year. It's obvious that one single center will not solve the problem of the region, but you have to keep this in mind because also as a complementary centers you can, so in the region can also be built other proton centers for proton therapy. These numbers which I am showing here strongly depend from the national protocols of cancer treatment and can vary significantly, so those numbers are the lower limit actually. It should be considered as a lower limit of the number of expected patients. So, okay, what is behind this? As I already mentioned, we are going to build an accelerator. In this accelerator, could you show me that there should be a laser somewhere here? Which one? This one is no. I tried it. This one. Oh, good. Okay, then I can show. So just we start with what is called the ion source. Then we have a linear accelerator, which is injecting a beam in the synchrotron. And after this synchrotron, we plan to have 3 lines delivering the beam in 3 treatment rooms. One of them will be equipped with superconducting gantry. It's a special device in order to position the beam in the most efficient way to the patient. And what is important, however, we have 2 additional lines which are going in this experimental area of the center. And another important point to mention is that the linear accelerator which we are planning to have in this center also will be in a position to produce isotopes for both for treatment of patients and for diagnosis of patients. So the parameters of the accelerators are chosen in such a way that you can accelerate protons and different types of ions. And the basic idea is that we can treat tumors which are 25-30 centimeters deep inside the patient. However, is important is that we will have in this accelerator the so-called standard extraction of the beam, which is called slow extraction. This is not so interesting. There is but what is important is that we will have also the so-called fast extraction, which permits us to extract the beam for a very short time from the accelerator, which means short time is microseconds, and this opens the door for a very interesting option for treatment of patients and very promising option, which is called flash therapy. And actually, this accelerator will be the first ion accelerator in the world able to deliver this type of beams suitable for flash therapy. So we see the picture of the center. So here is the accelerator, the main accelerator, the 3 treatment rooms. Here is the experimental area. From another view of this center, so actually this is what we are going to build. Our estimation of so we are going to do 2 things in this center. The first, of course, is research, but the second also we are going to treat patients in this center. And our estimation is that we will be able, under the condition that we are using at least 50% of the time of the beam time for research, so we can treat about 400 patients per year. Comparing with this number, which I have shown before, 1,500, it's clear that it's not enough to cover the needs of the region, but okay, we should start with something. The estimate of the cost of the full project is at the level of 250 million euro. And concerning once the center is established and working at full capacity, to run the center, we will need about 18 million per year, because we are going to treat patients and also to establish a state-of-art imaging center at this infrastructure. So we will have some income from these activities, which will cover about 10 millions out of these 18 millions. And what we do expect that the member states in the project also should contribute every year with 8 million, which is not such a huge number of such huge amount of money, taking into account that we have 10 countries in the project. So that's what is important also to define very clearly the stages of the project. So this project has 2 phases. The first one is the preparatory phase, the second is construction phase. The first preparatory phase has 2 stages. The first stage is the preparation of the conceptual design of the infrastructure. And actually this stage was finished with the support of the European Commission. We were able to finish this work. Now we are just preparing a document which is called Conceptual Design Report. The second stage includes the detailed technical design of the infrastructure, what usually is called Technical Design Report. We have to choose the legal framework, to define the legal framework for registration of this international organization, and to establish the institute. Of course, before this also we have to select the host state for the central infrastructure. There is also other activities. For example, we have to prepare the business plan to show to everybody that this project is sustainable. Now, the second phase, construction phase, will take 5-6 years. And what we do expect still, we hope that we will have the first patients treated at the end of 2029. So we have developed a detailed work plan with corresponding time scale, and we are going, I hope, today to approve this plan. Because we have 10 countries participating in the project, we decided to slightly extend it and to build actually distributed research infrastructure in the region, which will consist of the central infrastructure, which I have shown, this accelerator center, plus several hubs. Now, these hubs are under discussion. We are in process of forming a working group on hubs, and which should define the type of the hubs and the plans how to implement these ideas. What is under discussion now are hubs, digital hub, which means we are going to collect information from different centers in the region about the patients, to exchange this information, and just slowly but to switch to what is called digital medicine nowadays. Then the other possibilities, the Accelerator Development Hub and Scientific Hub. Of course, the main subject will be radiotherapy and radiobiology. The sustainability hub behind this is the idea to build a sun power station which will be producing the same amount of energy which will be consumed by the accelerator. And this center will be a different place, but this makes our project green, so to say. The other under discussion hubs are training hub, animal research hub, imaging hub, probably also medical physics hub. As I already mentioned, now we have a working group which is working on this subject, and we expect to have soon this a proposal what type of hubs we are going to have. What is important here is to mention that actually this work on the hubs will be going on in parallel with the work on the accelerator, and these hubs will be actually can be built and start to function before actually the central infrastructure. Now, concerning the collaboration, of course, you can not establish this institute and revise all the ideas behind the hub alone, because we have no in the region experience in this field. This is why we are working with the leading institutes in Europe and centers for ion therapy. I should mention, of course, CERN, but also GSI as a scientific centers, CNAU, Medestron, HIT and Marburg, the 4 ion therapy centers, existing centers in Europe. We are here today also a very strong support, for example, from CNAU. Then we have some projects, European projects, which are supported by European Commission. The most important and ongoing project at the moment is called HIT3+. Today we will have a presentation about this project, so I'm just jumping to the next point. Also, we had signed a special agreement with the Ministry of Science of Montenegro for 100,000 at the very critical point of the development of the project, and I will take again the Montenegro government for this support of the project. It was very important. As I already mentioned, the first stage of the preparatory phase, which was the conceptual design of the accelerator, was supported by the European Commission, so this project was finished. Now we have established several working groups, probably from political point of view. The two most important of them are the working group on legal framework, which is supposed to define this legal framework, and the second working group is on the site selection. The Swiss Federal Department for Foreign Affairs kindly agreed to help us in this work because it's a really very sensitive, and they are coordinating the work of these two working groups. As you know, tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, we will have meetings of these two groups here at Thessaloniki. Also, we have established the working group on hubs and networks. Now, a little bit on the current situation. So, currently we're in the second stage of the preparatory phase. As you see, so what we did recently was to develop a general work plan for the project, and then I hope today it will be approved by the steering committee, and then based on it we can establish year by year the yearly plans for every year. So this plan was prepared together with of course, with the association, and we will discuss it this afternoon. Now, I mentioned we have several working groups, and what we are going, they are already functioning. However, we have another problem in the project. The funding is not structured yet, so today we are going to establish a work group on financial sustainability, which will be responsible for this structuring of the funding. Also, negotiations are going on with the European Commission. They are supporting us very strongly. Now we have to define clearly the schemes which we can use from the European Commission to get financial support for the project. Now, I already mentioned, but again, I'll stress on this, it is very important to form a local community. The problem is that this project is in the field where in our region we have no capacity, no expertise in the region, simply because there are no this type of centers in the region. So we are helped very strongly by the European community, but now it is time to form the local community which is working on the project, to build the network, to connect all these local communities in the region, and to ensure that and to organize their work in such a way that they are working in synergy, and also to connect our local community with the European community. This work actually already started somehow and is going on, but for this we need a very strong support from the governments of the member states. And of course, the second point which we are going to discuss this afternoon is the financial support for the project coming from the governments. As you know, the association is I missed this point. The steering committee is not legal entity, and the steering committee cannot participate in different projects and so on. Then this is why we have established the Association for Support of SEEIST, which is a legal entity registered in Switzerland, and this is the legal representative of our project at the moment. This is a temporary solution till the institute is officially established. Now, concerning the European Commission, we had very interesting meetings 2 weeks ago in Brussels. These meetings were organized by our Swiss friends from the Foreign Department, for the Federal Department for Foreign Affairs. We met the team of Anna Panagopoulou. She is a director of European Research Area and Innovation. This is part of the DG of Research and Innovation. The very clear support for the project was declared, and now we are discussing what are the possibilities for us to participate in different calls of the Commission. The other meeting was with Corina Amting. She's actually the department which she leads is the real research executive agency. This is the part of the Commission which is responsible for the realization of the projects which are already approved. Again, we receive quite good support from them. The other very important meeting with Adrienne Kirley and her team, this is so-called DG NEAR. This is the directorate which is responsible for the neighbor countries and new member states. In particular, this is the department which is responsible for the West Balkan investment plan, and what actually we are discussing is the possibility that SEEIST will be the flagship project in this plan. So again, we receive quite strong support. For them, of course, for them our project is not enough mature, so to say, to be included in this plan. We still have to do some work and to finish this preparatory phase on the project. But what is important also, if we want to get some support from them, we should activate the national delegations in Brussels to be more active, to present the project and to ask support for this project from DG NEAR. Also, we had a meeting with Peter Koren. This is Intra F5. This is the department which is responsible with contacts for non-member states which are non-European member states. So this was an informative meeting. The total conclusion from these meetings that we have a very strong support from the European Commission, but now we have to prepare our homework. The last thing which happened was actually just 1 week ago. There was a meeting organized from the European Commission and the Inspire projects, which was called Proton Therapy Across European Regions, Technological Advances and the Emerging Field of Heavy Ions Therapy. Here we see the program. What is important actually is that this meeting was opened by Sinja Racu. She is the Deputy Director General of DG Research and Innovation. where he declared from the very beginning a very strong support for SEEIST, and she mentioned that actually this meeting was organized in order to introduce SEEIST in front of the other projects in this field. And she declared an extremely strong support for the Commission. I have present our project. There was after that discussion. Also were present the existing project in this field. It is the SPIRE project, which was present by Karen Kirby, professor of proton therapy in physics in Manchester. The HITRI+ project was present by Sandro Rossi, which is here with us, Director General of NOW Foundation. The probably interesting thing, information, also there was a report from Georgia. They are going to establish a proton therapy center, so they actually signed the contract, and now they are working on the project. The leading there will be the Kutaisi International University. So more or less, those are the activities, the stage of the project. Thank you very much for your attention, and if you have some very fast questions, please. Okay.
Can I add, excuse me, can I add something to your speech,
Yes.
which you have missed probably to mention? The main goal of establishing SEEIST, one of the highest priorities is to revert the brain drain, is researching the demography of the Balkans. One can see that the brain drain is devastating in all the countries except for Slovenia, I think. There is an experience with CERN which needs to be transferred also to this project. The brain drain due to the Manhattan Project was very remarkable. The people from Europe were going to work in United States, and CERN bring a lot of people back from United States. So one of these priorities is to bring our golden boys and girls which are leaving the Balkans and never coming back, to make them come back. So thank you, Litov, for allowing me to add this.
Thank you, Mimosa. Of course, this is a very important point,
Yeah.
so it should be mentioned.